Winter was over, but there was still frost on the rails, and it looked like frosty sugar in the sunshine. Bear and Henry would often take turns of pulling the express. At times, while at that, Donald and Douglas would take turns taking ballast train from the small railway, where they would take it to James and James would take it to the railway to be repaired. One day, Donald had just finished delivering the ballast train to James. He was uncoupled by the train and went into a siding to rest, but as he was about, he didn't realize the rails were slippery from the frosty. His driver tried to put on the brakes, but it was too late. Donald soon gasped in horror as he saw the buffers up towards him. He shut his eyes, and before he could say "Fat Controller," he had crashed into the buffers. Lucky Donald wasn't hurt, as the buffers had stopped him from crashing, but the buffers were badly damaged. Donald felt really embarrassed about it. The other engines at the sheds laughed at him. "You should be in a skating tournament," they laughed. Donald laughed too, but he was still worried what Sir Topham might say. Sir Topham just smiled and said to Douglas that it wasn't his fault, but he did remind him to be more careful in the future. "Don't worry, Donald. Repairs to the siding are going to be fixed immediately, and James's repair on the railway is nearly done." The next day, Douglas had just delivered some ballast to James.
"Oh, Goya," said Douglas. "What are you going to do, James, when the work is finished?"
"Hopefully pull passenger trains again," said James.
We can only hope,"
said Douglas. Douglas was uncoupled by the ballast train, and he went into a siding to rest, but Douglas was travelling a bit too fast. He didn't realize that the rails were slippery. His driver tried to put on the brakes, but the brakes were jammed.
"Look, Iris!"
cried Douglas. He saw up ahead where a new set of buffers had just been built, and they were just finished being painted. Douglas shut his eyes. There was a loud crash. The buffers were in pieces, and paint went everywhere. Douglas's front reels came off the rails. The workmen were furious by this. "You clumsy engine," they cried. "Just look what you've done to our new buffers." One of the workmen threw red paint on Douglas's nose. Douglas's front driving wheels were off the rails, so James had to come to help put Douglas back on the rails. That night at the sheds, Sir Topham had scolded Douglas severely. He also told that he would have the red paint on his nose left there as a reminder to other engines to not go fast on icy sidings. Douglas felt rather ashamed for what he had done. The other engines teased him and called him Douglas the red-nosed reindeer. Douglas had learned his lesson. Don't you?